Welcome back, folks. It's been another great week over here at the Grinder Podcast, getting after it. Today, well, James, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing pretty good.
You look good.
I appreciate that. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work. My wife lays out my clothes for me, gets me dressed every morning, so that's a little difficult. But man, I had this like crazy sinus infection. So if y'all hear me kind of cough or something, forgive me. I'm on the mend, but I'm doing good, dude. It's my last week before I head to the beach, and I'm on work on my tan and watch my kid play in the surf. So I can't wait.
Yeah, you got a whole vacation coming up, don't you?
That's right. That's right.
I don't know what we're going to do without you, pal.
I guess you're just going to have to do a podcast and just be boring by yourself.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time, and it probably won't be the last.
Well, I mean, at least you look good.
I try, man. I've been putting on this tan for the past 2 or 3 weeks. So
as you say that, flexing your arms, I see you there.
I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't know how that happened.
All right. Well, hey, look. So today we got a very special guest, a very good friend of mine that has been a mentor to me, got me into the insurance business, and then not only helped me get through that, I worked for him. Then I left and opened my own. Then he mentored me, and now somehow, I don't know who sold who, but then we came back around and became partners. So, but which has been amazing. So I'd like to welcome everybody to Eddie Osmond. Eddie, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, James. Great to be here. This is all new to me, but we'll give it a go. This is just audio, right? Nobody can see me.
No, actually, I tell you. So I don't know. I don't want to oversell it, but we're one of the few that does have video on Spotify, right?
Okay. All right.
So they get, I think most of them come to look at Addison, not me, but they get to see us.
I understand. All right.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Eddie. So real quick, kind of tell your background, like a little bit of your history.
Well, I'm in McDonough, Georgia. I pretty much grew up here. All my family's from here. I go back 6 generations in Henry County. My wife goes back 5. So, a lot of family history here. When I spent a few years in Atlanta and Birmingham prior to really moving here full time when I was 12 years old. So been here since then. Went to the University of Georgia, graduated, ended up in the car business by virtue of the fact that my grandfather had a General Motors dealership here in McDonough. Did that for about 10 years. We sold the dealership and I had to have a job, and I ended up in insurance, thankfully, and have been doing that since 1991. And then about 13, 14 years ago, I also invested in a fire and water restoration company. And so we have that up in Peachtree Corners, North Atlanta area. And got a great guy that runs that operation for us. And we've got our new partnership going great guns. So that's where I am. Got 3 kids. 2 of them, my 2 girls are married. The baby boy is probably soon to be.
Oh, wow. And now how many grandkids you got?
4 grandkids.
Yeah.
6, 4, 2, and 0.
That's awesome. I don't know if I've ever asked you. So what made you decide to go, when you left the car business, what made you decide to go with insurance?
Well, I interviewed with a lot of companies. I was, like, as I said, I was about 10 years out of college, and I had a lot of guys that I knew in college that were, most of them working in Atlanta and for much bigger companies, making seemingly making a lot more money than I was. And so I interviewed with some of those kind of companies, but I found out pretty quickly that nobody really, necessarily had a position for a 30-year-old retired car dealer. And so I don't know. It was really it was a humbling experience because I felt like I had a lot of experience, although it was fairly broad in the automobile business. But it was sales, it was customer service, and it was management. At a what I felt like was a high level for somebody my age and in the size of the operation, because it wasn't a big dealership by any means. And I had kind of been through a serious trial by fire, when I started. I mean, it's a bizarre story. I won't go too deep on that right now, but anyway, so then I needed a job, and I started looking around, and there was a local guy that was in the insurance business that seemed to play a lot of golf, and that attracted my attention, and ended up, tried to get applied with several companies, and thankfully Nationwide gave me a chance.
Wow. And then your original office, it was in Stockbridge, right?
No, my original office was in Fayetteville. I
Wow.
was working out of a district office in Fayetteville, Georgia. They provided me with a phone and a desk, and everything else, was on me. And I had no book of business. I mean, I had to write my very first policy.
Yeah.
So, and kind of went from there.
So what were some of the first steps that you did? Because we have a lot of people who are starting out in business or they're in business and they're going through that process. What was some of the first things that you did as a new person in insurance to get that new business?
Well, I'd like to say, I could, let me just pull up this list from where I was working off of the perfect how-to. But I mean, really at the end of the day, it was talking to people. I mean, it was smiling and dialing.
Mm-hmm.
And, and this was way before there were any do not call list. And it was way before, I'm trying to think, cell phones, I can't remember whether we had anything like that at that point. But I guess we did, but they were, it was the old bag phone in your car, or either something you had hard mounted in your car, one of those two, as I recall. And so, but you didn't have many people's cell phone numbers. You had your best friends and maybe your family, but that was about it. So it was, but anyway, it was really about making contact with people, because you weren't going to do it via social media. You weren't going to, texting was not around. And so you had to reach out and talk to somebody. And so it was asking for referrals. And I don't necessarily remember much about having a call list necessarily, but I'm sure we did at some point there. But it was person to person. And when we were back then, when we wrote a policy, there was no way to, I mean, we really would print out the paperwork and drive out to somebody's house and sit at their kitchen table and sign the paperwork. And, it seems antiquated, and it is in a sense, but it's funny how making those relationships and just the connection of seeing somebody eye to eye, I think makes a huge difference in their willingness to stick with you, as opposed to, you've never met these people. It's just a phone conversation maybe, or it's an email conversation. But, when you sit down with somebody and they kind of look you eye to eye and they're sizing you up and that sort of thing. And, I think it goes a long way to establishing some rapport and certainly some trust and a measure of comfort, a comfort level, I think, with people like that.
Yeah. Do you think that like your experience from the car business translated to that? Being
Oh,
comfortable with
definitely.
that? Yeah.
Definitely. Because, I mean, in the automobile business, I mean, the service department you're constantly dealing with issues there of, can't get the car fixed right, or it's partially fixed, but not to their level of satisfaction or whatever. I mean, it's, you're always dealing with problems, but you just, that was good training, I think, in learning how to deal with people and just face issues head on and admit when you're wrong and just do your best. And sometimes you do your best and it's not good enough, but that's just part of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've never really thought about that. Like that's in the sense of, how technology has changed and sped things up. How many people who do business with me who've never met me now?
Right.
They have no idea what I look like. I walk right past them. I wouldn't know who they are. They wouldn't know who I am. And I get the convenience, but like, how am I in some way? I get everybody's business is a little different. Like Addison, you're going to meet everybody you do business with, period. Yeah. Right. So, but what am I doing to in what way can I still try to have that kitchen table talk? Yep. That is different. I've not done that like you have, but there are situations I can go back to. Miss Stevenson, I mean, I remember going and sitting in her house, old lady, sweet old lady, but golly, she had that house at 80 degrees. I was sweating bullets, and she said, "You want some coffee?" Well, of course I drank coffee because she was drinking coffee, and I was sitting there drinking hot coffee, sweating bullets at her kitchen table. Yeah. It was so hot in that house. But you know what? She was with me for years till she quit driving and sold her home and moved into assisted. Like, I can remember those situations. So I guess my thought to people listening, like, how are we having those kitchen table talks? Is there different ways?
Right.
Are we doing it through Zoom? Are we, or staying present in front of our customers, letting them know that, trying to make it a little more intimate when we can? And that's difficult to do.
Well, which, goes to the point of, I mean, it's just, I'd much rather have a Zoom conversation than a telephone conversation, especially if it's somebody that I don't know or don't know that well. Or if it's a situation where, I'm just trying to get a read on somebody. I mean, body language tells a lot. I mean, it's people can be extremely mad at you and tell you everything's okay, but if you're looking at them, you can. It's hard for people to tell a fib with their body.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I it also goes to my point of, like we were talking about the other day about getting these bios out with people's picture on them. Just that picture to me goes a long way. I mean, it's not a substitute, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's hard to beat face to face. I mean, think about it. I never have even asked myself this question, but who is, can you think of somebody that you have an immense amount of trust for, but you've only talked to them on the phone? I mean, nobody really jumps out in my mind when I think about it that way.
Yeah. No, not at all.
So
it's hard to build a relationship that way.
Yeah. And here we are trying to be a trusted advisor over the phone. So
you're right. Well, and and then nowadays, just how can you build funnels? How you can build stuff to click through. Now, look, I get it. If you're selling a product, right? Somebody's just going to order and it's high volume, different. You got to think of it differently. But if you're in any kind of service industry, advising industry, those opportunities, however you generate leads, that is really just the introduction. That's just an opportunity to build a real relationship and introduction. It's not the way to close deals.
Right.
With
No.
that, you know, the people who combine the relationship building with the product itself. So if you're just in products and you're not in services, people who build that relationship, whether it's on social media, whether it's, you know, whatever it might be, the people who connect the two together are usually the ones that start to succeed a little bit, you know, further and further down the road.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
they
that's
convey their values and their brand very
right.
well on that product. I agree.
Well, and that is a interesting medium too, because I think about I've got a daughter that is just amazing on Instagram at the way she can kind of communicate her personality and, to your point, her values, and a lot of it is around either just situations and it's sometimes it's related to fashion, and you could never do that without you could never get that message across without social media like that.
Yeah.
And it would be hard to get it across any other way unless you're just already so famous that Entertainment Tonight's following you around or something like that. So it's but the visual part of it is at the end of the day is really, really important, I think, short of seeing it in person.
Yeah. Now to that, Eddie, one thing I've always admired about you is your involvement in the community. In a lot of ways, it's not even, honestly, most people would never even know, in my mind, just the way you may help with organizations, work with boards, those different things, and you actually are the one who told me this. There's 3 ways to give: time, talent, or treasure. So you either give your time, your talent, if it's in a specific area, or you're writing checks through your treasure. So but what I like about it is it's done through giving in one of those 3 ways, but it also, how have you found where that creates more opportunity for you? It's done with the heart, but it's created more opportunity for you through doing that. Am I correct?
Sure. Well, I think it's, I think it goes back to relationships. Mm-hmm. It's not, nobody says, boy, he did a great job with his work on the chamber. Let's send him our business. I mean, there might be some of that, I mean, they want to see, they want to see somebody that's competent, I guess, but they really people want to do business with people they know and like.
Yep.
And so I think, which again, just goes back to relationships. So if you're involved in an organization and you apply yourself, you're not just showing up to simply take from the opportunity, but you're trying to give a little as well. And people like you. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's that complicated or hard. You just, I've had some recent involvement with Clayton State University, and, met some people that I never have met before in my life. Might have heard of them or be, somewhat familiar with who they are, but I didn't really know them. And, as you get to know them, you realize, hey, this guy's a good guy. This lady's super nice and extremely sharp, and may not necessarily be an opportunity for me to do business with them or them to do business with me, but you just never know. You never know when that's going to come in handy. I never will forget, there was actually this guy was a roommate of mine in college, and never seen anybody in my life that knew more people than he did. And he worked hard, but I don't, never felt like, I felt like I was putting in more hours, just put it that way. But he was being extremely effective. And so I was talking to this guy that a mutual friend of ours, and I was I was talking to him about that, and I said, it just amazes me how many people he knows, and he works hard, but he seems to get it done in a normal day. It's not like he's up all night, and the mutual friend just said, he said, look, his value is not his hourly production. His value is his Rolodex. And, you don't really, I mean, just that a light went off when I heard that. And, it just kind of makes you think you don't just knowing people and being able to pick up the phone and call them sometimes opens a lot of doors. May not be directly for my benefit, but you're helping somebody else maybe. And maybe that comes back around down the road.
Yeah.
So there's I've always referred to it as I got a guy, right? It's like you know that guy that just knows everyone, and he's got an answer for pretty much, hey, you call him. Yeah, I got a guy. I know a guy over here that can do this for you or that for you. He's just connected to everyone. That is an absolute amazing resource. You're just always on people's mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. That is a talent.
And I think it goes back to that whole adage of it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? Yeah. And it's a big piece. I mean, it's a big piece, especially in business. That's something that will translate to everybody, because you are that person that is, a giving person, but you're also able to connect. Your relationship is able to connect other relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. So some people listen to this, like, I will tell you, the thought of doing that, like, doesn't appeal to me. Like, naturally, it doesn't appeal to me. I'm the guy that is happy to come in here. I could close off my blinds, and my team, I thrive off my team. They energize me. They pump me up. Like, I want to see people win. But if I didn't go out and have another lunch with somebody or get to know somebody, I'm fine with that. I could stay in here and I could tinker forever. So I have to fight that urge. And like, one of the ways I'm fighting the urge, right, or fighting that is, like, now I have to schedule something every week with someone. Like, I have it laid out for the next 3 months. Every week I have to schedule something with someone. Maybe I grab a coffee. I do something on the weekend. It doesn't have to just be business. Maybe I go, play golf with some guys I normally just never go play golf with, right? I have to do something weekly and check it off.
Right.
And it's tough for me. I have to fight that. I'm happy when I'm at home. If I'm not working, I can go to my workshop and it's just me down there, and I can put in my earbuds, and I'm fine with that. So, like, I'm very content being by myself.
Well, that's interesting, I'm the same way to a certain extent. I mean, I'm not the best at, just scheduling lunches just for the sake of scheduling lunches. Now, I did have the guy who worked for me, and apparently I told him this according to what he said, and I do believe it, but, he kind of, had the, mentality of, hey, I'm every day I have lunch, I'm gonna have lunch with somebody. Doesn't matter what, there's no agenda, but I'm gonna have lunch with somebody. And I think it's paid great dividends for him. And I think it probably would for anybody, because, hey, look, again, you're moving a relationship one way or the other. Either they like you better and they want to be around you more, or they like you less and they don't want to see you again. Well, it's moving one way or the other. And so, but I think, I don't know this, but you're very goal driven, and I'm that way to an extent. So I usually, if I call somebody to have lunch with them, I've got an agenda. There's a reason that I want to meet with them, as opposed to just enhance, or just have fun, enhance a relationship. And that might not be the best way to go about it, but I think I think that's probably what makes you the way you are, is that you're goal driven, and you don't see a goal in, what's going to come out of having that lunch. And if something doesn't come out of it that's tangible, then you feel like you've wasted your time. And I get it, but I think we probably need to think more of, hey, just having lunch with somebody and having good conversation is positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You may not achieve a goal when the lunch ends at 1:00, but there is some positive value to be gained from it. And unless you are trying to knock something out at work, why would you sit there and eat at your desk? Which is what I find myself doing a lot of times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I mean, even when it comes to clients, I mean, I have a few that have dealt with me for years that, and they're just kind of funny, kind of goofy like me a little bit in some ways, and we'll cut up a little bit. But usually, even when I get on the phone with a client, my thought has always been, be efficient, be fast for their sake.
right.
Be extremely knowledgeable. Yes, sir. No, sir. Like, just be on point. Be exactly what I think in their mind they expect when they get on the phone with me. And, but there's the folks that master the other side. So, I think like Brad's a great example. I've had lunch. So Brad's our other partner, it's Eddie's brother. He's amazing with people. I go to a lunch with Brad. I got a complete agenda. We've went and tag team lunches with other people. I got an agenda. I'm all facts. I'm all points, and Brad's just over there talking about something that's completely irrelevant to him. You know what happens at the end of lunch? They usually look at me and go, man, I really like that guy. I like him. People do business with people they like.
Right.
They feel like they like them back. So, it does go a long ways. It's different. But the thing is, I will say one thing I've really tried to teach myself, and I push other people to it, and it's tough to do, is not say, well, I'm just not good at that. That's an excuse.
Right.
It's just a skill you haven't built up. And you got to build the skill if it's a worthy skill to have. You just got to stay cognizant on that. So, and I don't care what that is. I don't care if that's in your home life. You just say, well, I'm not a great parent or whatever. Like, then get better. Like, learn the skill set.
There's a difference between self-acceptance and self-awareness, right? Like, you've got to have that awareness of understanding where you fall short as a human being, on whatever level that is, whether it's business or personal. You've got to have some sort of self-awareness and actually spend the time with yourself looking in the mirror saying, okay, well, I'm not good at this. Is it a good thing? Is it moving me forward that I'm not good at it? Or is it moving me backwards? And that goes with everything that you do. I mean, whether it's, I guess the other saying is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that's, you've got to be able to look at that and genuinely take a ticket for it and say, well, I'm gonna work on this, or I'm not. And is it going to move me forward or not? Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's a big part of discovering yourself, I guess.
Well, we've talked about that in the past couple of podcasts, Addison, is where we're saying, one of the big things, like, it's been a big awakening for me. I thought I knew who I was. Well, like, that can change. So since I've been young, I've been very confident in myself that not that I know it all or any of that, but I've just been confident in that I can figure it out. I can learn. I can work. I can get it done. I do believe in that. But like, time goes on, you should continue to challenge that status quo, whatever you believe about yourself, right? Or just making sure you're staying cognizant on it. And that's what I was saying, working with that coach, like, he started asking me questions and things I thought I knew about myself. I haven't really asked myself that again in a long, long time. And I'm just sitting there going, I don't know the answer. And I hadn't thought about it. I just checked that box 20 years ago and I'm just good. No, like, there's no growth. There's no curiosity in that. So that has been a really big piece for me. And man, it's been eye-opening of how much that I've learned. Like, I think that's things that come with time and wisdom, is like that you realize there's a lot you don't know that you can learn, and how you can get better, and staying curious on that. And, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
You're not really just got it all figured out. You're just getting quicker at learning, hopefully,
Yeah.
So
the quickest test on that is, what is your favorite color? Right.
Red.
So James, what is your favorite color?
Red.
Why?
Red. I just love red. Always have, always will, man. Red's my favorite color.
Right. So it kind of, you never ask yourself why that's your favorite color, just from after a period of time. It's just, red's my favorite color. It just is what it is. But that there was a piece to that at one point in your life, you saw red and you were like, man, that's the color. But then you never asked yourself any deeper question past that. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's an easy kind of test of, are you growing at all? Have you changed at all in your processes?
Yeah. Yeah. I buy a new vehicle, it's always red. I mean, every time. I love red, man. That's what it always sticks to. All right, Eddie, you've been super gracious with your time. I will ask you, we talked about a couple of different things. This podcast is aimed at people who are trying to go to the next level up, trying to step out on that belief of that new idea, just always looking. We share our journey as we go. So to that, talk about the different companies you've started and where you're at, and career changes, life changes. I mean, 30 though, definitely still young at 30, but changing a whole different field at 30, man. I mean, that had to kind of, that probably put you on your toes. That probably felt dangerous.
It did. And the weird thing was, I can remember thinking that I got to get this right because I'm getting old. And that was such a wrong point of view, I think. 30 that's like a baby. But it didn't seem like it then, I can tell you. And again, I felt like all of my peers had kind of passed me by a little bit, and that I was, I was way down here looking up. But you can also drive yourself crazy, doing that comparison thing. So I would highly caution against that, or against overdoing it. And sometimes you just got to focus on what you can control, and go with that. And again, don't let the age thing hang anybody up. I never will forget. I was doing a graduation speech to kindergartners back when one of mine was going from kindergarten to first grade, and I was trying to think of something to relate to them, and I ended up kind of learning something. I learned more from my own speech than I know these kindergartners did. But I remember that Truett Cathy, when he started Chick-fil-A, he was 46 years old. Wow. And you look at where Chick-fil-A is now, and you look at of course, he lived to close to 90, but 45 years is a long time for a career. Most people just don't think about starting it at age 46. Mm-hmm. So, I just, age is just a number. So yeah, I think you got to remember that and keep it in perspective, and give it its proper place, which is not very high.
Man, I was going to ask you, what would be one piece of advice you would give? That's it. Let's nail it. That's cherry on top right there. So we really appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely. Genuinely. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Genuinely has been a good time. And it was a pleasure meeting you for the first time and hearing you. And it's been awesome. So
we need to have lunch together.
Yes, sir. That sounds good.
Right there.
We can definitely set that up. So guys, we appreciate you guys taking some time to listen to us. It's been a really good podcast. I think you guys are going to pull off a lot of good information. And If you listen to this once, rewind, listen to it again, because I'm sure you're going to miss something. I know I'm probably going to have to re-listen to this one myself. With that being said, do not forget to take a look at our sponsors, Jocko Fuel and Origin USA. When you guys get there, do not forget to put in the code GRIND10 at checkout. Save yourself 10% off and enjoy some American-made, good quality stuff. With that being said, James, do the honors.
Hey, I would like that. If you do like this podcast, hey, maybe if you're feeling a little frisky, go over there and hit that little review button. Doesn't hurt our feelings at all. Or if you're feeling really good, share it with a friend. That's all I'm saying. And with that, grinder out.